Hey everybody, welcome to The Warp. I'm Jack Reeder with Future Pastimes. In this video, I'm going to be looking at all of the Essence aliens and ranking them from the ones that I like the least all the way up to the one that I like the best. Now, to be clear, I really like Essence aliens. I think it's a really interesting concept that opened up a lot of new, fascinating gameplay possibilities. These were first introduced in Cosmic Eons, and there are 7 aliens in that expansion that use Essence cards. And Cosmic Odyssey added 5 more. So there are 12 Essence aliens currently in the Fantasy Flight edition of the Cosmic Universe. So let's start with number 12. So that one is going to be Nanny. I think Nanny, for me, is the least interesting, although I still think it's a good alien. Let's look at what it does, and we'll talk more about it. So you have the power of consequences. So when you are not a main player, after alliances are formed, but before encounter cards are selected, you may use this power to motivate one or both main players. To motivate a player, you have to give them a negotiate card from your hand to add to their hand. And then you give them a consequence card. And that's one of your Essence aliens. And you're always going to have 3. For the general rule for Essence aliens is you've got a cache of 3 that don't count as part of your hand. And when one gets used or given away, you draw another one. So you always have 3. So you're going to give them, you're going to give 1 to each player that you motivate, one of these consequence cards. And and each one has an incentive and a punishment, okay? So if a motivated player reveals a negotiate card in that encounter, you carry out the incentive on the consequence. And then you get that card back, and it goes into your face-up pile. If a motivated player does not reveal a negotiate card, you carry out the punishment, and you leave the consequence as a marker for them to mark their timeout. So a player in timeout may not participate in the game in any way or communicate with other players, nor may other players communicate with the player in timeout. If that player is the offense, their turn ends. If that player becomes the defense, the offense draws destiny again. At the end of the timeout, the player returns the consequence card. In any case where play cannot progress because of timeouts, all other players' consequence cards are returned to you. And then there's one little added element on here. It's a multifaceted alien. Whenever one or more players discards negotiate cards, you may use this power to retrieve one of those negotiate cards and add it to your hand. You may play and discard negotiates normally. And that was added on there because this is an alien that really relies on you having negotiate cards. Now, there are other aliens that do. If Pacifist comes to mind. But I don't think anyone has ever felt like Pacifist needed to be able to draw them. So this is an alien that it's really affecting other players. And so in order to do that, it needs to be armed to do so. And we didn't want Nanny to just being able to hand out these consequence cards. There needed to be something else added to it. So this is an alien that's going to collect those negotiates and then try to use them. So here's an example of a consequence card. So the Essence cards got the alien art on the back and on the front as well. Lets you know how many are. This is number 4 of 8 down there at the bottom. And so you've got the incentive. So if you give them a negotiate card and this consequence, the incentive is that they can discard as many cards as they wish from their hand. So this is a good hand management consequence. So if you are given a negotiate from the Nanny, you may have to think about, all right, hopefully I'm making a deal, but if not, at least I'm going to get something out of that. Because the punishment is, of course, you're going to be in timeout, but there's more to it than that. The Nanny looks at your hand and discards your highest attack card. And then you are in timeout during the next player's first encounter. So it lets you know how long. It's just one encounter for the next player, but you are losing your highest attack card. And Nanny has also got to look at your entire hand. So this is a big deal. And that's the thing, is all these consequences, they're all a little bit different. And the incentives are different, and the punishments are different. And some of them, you are in timeout for an entire turn. So what I like about Nanny is that it's fostering deals, which I like. I like this incentive. It's very much a carrot and stick approach to it. And So I enjoy that. I like the interaction that Nanny adds to a game of Cosmic Encounter. It is very wild. Um, what's interesting about this is that Nanny personally doesn't get a whole lot out of it. There's no, like, if somebody does this, you're going to get X, Y, or Z. So you're meddling in the affairs of the cosmos, but you're really looking to see how you can turn that to your advantage. So this almost could have been a red alert alien, just because I think that there'd be some players are going to struggle with can I turn this to my advantage? But there are plenty of opportunities to do so. So I enjoy playing with Nanny. I just like all of the other Essence aliens a little bit more. So let's look at the next one on the list. And it is, that one was from Cosmic Eons. This is from Eons as well. It is Nightmare. And I should point out that all the Essence aliens have this little alien here, the alien face on the bottom of the alien sheet, to let you know it's an Essence alien, because the majority of the rules for how Essence aliens work are not on the sheets. They are in the rule book. So you have to kind of refer to that and understand how it works. It's not complicated, though. But it did save room on the sheet, so you didn't have to explain everything. So Nightmare has the power of bad dreams. Now, this is a pretty vicious alien. Once per encounter, when a main player has declined to invite you to ally, or another player is on the winning side of an encounter when you were on the losing side, you may use this power to place a bad dream from your cache face down near that player. You cannot give a bad dream to someone who already has one. You may reveal a player's bad dream card at any time. That player reads the card and carries out its effects if they apply, and then you get it back. So you can give somebody a bad dream card, one of these guys, and they may have it for many, many turns before you decide to reveal it. And they don't know what it is, which is awful. And some of them are particularly nasty. What I like about this, and this was driven largely by Bill Martinson, we were trying to salvage another alien called Nightmare. Didn't quite work out. And as we were starting to apply the Essence card treatment to a lot of other aliens, we revisited Nightmare and said, maybe this would make a good Essence alien. And Bill had the idea of having each one of them as an old trope for a type of nightmare. So we have one here running, but getting nowhere. So a lot of us have had that dream. So this, again, it goes face down, and then you decide to when to reveal it. And when you do, if you, and this is whoever this applies to, if you are accepting an alliance invitation, instead you are actually declining all invitations. So there may be a time where you're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to join the offense on it. And then Nightmare can be like, you know what? No, you're just sitting this one out. So pretty nasty. This one here, Naked in Public. If you are winning the game along with one or more other players, instead those players are actually winning without you. Wow, that is really brutal. And so you see what I mean by some of these are quite nasty and vicious. And again, Nightmare is trying to decide which one to give to whom and when to reveal it. That one, obviously, you're waiting until the game, but whoever you give that to, ay caramba. So yeah, you have to know if you're in a game with Nightmare that there's a good chance that one's going to show up and somebody's going to get it. It's usually me if I'm not playing Nightmare. I'm the one that everyone gives that to. So I'm more incentivized to just win alone because I don't want to risk it until one's been revealed or that has been revealed to somebody else. That's what I'm going with. So Nightmare is a really nasty one. It's probably the nastiest one out of the bunch. We'll see when we get a little bit further down. This next alien is Alien. So it's the alien, which I find a little bit funny. So you have the power to traumatize. At the start of another player's turn, you may use this power to capture one of that player's ships from any colony where they have at least 2 ships. You're not stripping a colony. Choose one trauma card from your Essence cache and place it face down next to this sheet with the captured ship on top. So with Nightmare, they're getting the card, it's next to them. With Alien, you're putting it next to you with the captured ship on it. You may not hold more than one of each player's ships captive at a time. Now, when you are not the offense, before encounter cards are selected, you may use this power to release one or both of the main player's ships that you have captured on previous turns. Released ships join the encounter, going to the hyperspace gate or the targeted planet as appropriate, even exceeding gate limits. And the trauma card under each one is placed face down, unseen, near the corresponding main player. When a main player with a trauma card reveals an encounter card, they must also reveal the trauma card and carry out its effect. And revealed trauma cards are returned to you, and then what happens if it's lost or stolen. So you're basically saying, okay, now those ships are joining in and they're bringing their trauma with them, which is going to take effect once you reveal the encounter cards. So let's take a look at a couple here. We have one that's called Depression. So the trauma here is if you reveal an attack card, its value is 0. Another one is Hallucinations. Your opponent may exchange their revealed encounter card with any other encounter card from their hand. So you can really manipulate a lot of these encounters with the trauma cards, and that can have incentive for getting invited as an ally, or who you invite and who declines, etc., etc. So you're going to be able to capture these ships throughout the game, and you're going to be able to apply different traumas to them, and then again, you're deciding when you want them to take effect, and you can leverage that. You can hold it over the other players and get something out of it, so that they do your bidding and they don't have to suffer the consequences of whatever it is. So that's why I like Alien more than Nightmares, because you have more room to, I think, take effect over the player. Some of these Nightmares, you really can't. I mean, you can try to parlay it into do what I want, or I'm going to reveal it. There, it's mostly a bluff. And you can bluff as well with Alien. But I like the effects with Alien. They're not quite as horrific, some of them. And to be fair, not all of Nightmares are as bad as the you lose the game. But some of them are pretty nasty. And the Alien ones, well, a few of them get mean, like, attack 0. You're probably losing that encounter for sure. I just like the interplay a little bit more. The captured ship is a more of a visual on what's going on. Going in a totally different direction is our next Essence Alien, and that is Assistant. Now, Assistant is a little more helpful. In fact, it's the power to be helpful. So what happens is, as a main player or ally, after alliances are formed but before encounter cards are selected, you must use this power. And if there are any players on your side of the encounter, give one help card from your cache to one of those players, and then you gain a reward. So here, Assistant is getting something for handing out these Essence cards. A player who has been given a help card can keep it face up or face down and look at it. Other players may give you their help cards back to you per the timing on the help card, and then gain one reward, or, they get the help as instructed, and then you as Assistant gain one reward, or if you can immediately use the help card for yourself, you may do so before placing it in your unavailable pile. So there's only 6 of these. So you're going to be seeing them over and over again because you're handing them out, and then players will typically use them. Some of them, you may be like, I'll wait for the right time. But a lot of them you can use fairly quickly. So I'll give you an example of one. This one's called Messy Hand. So when you draw a new hand, the Assistant will pre-screen it for you, discarding some of the cards per your instructions, returning to you a more efficient and useful hand. So that's an example of one that, as Assistant, you're probably not going to be able to take advantage of that right away. I'll give you an example of another one here. Ship Scarcity. At any time, the Assistant will retrieve any or all of your ships from the warp per your instructions. So that's kind of they're all nice little things that you get to do for somebody, and sometimes you can take advantage of it as well, or just get a reward. So remember, you get a reward when you give them the card, and then you can get a reward when they give it back. So it's doubly good. So that's why Assistant is a little bit higher up on the list here. It's fun. It makes for a nicer game, which is a very different experience for a lot of us when we play Cosmic Encounter. All right. Again, swinging the pendulum the other way, we have from Cosmic Odyssey, we have Negator. So Negator used to be an alien in the Eon and Mayfair editions. The effects are generally the same, but I found over the years that a lot of players had a hard time playing with Negator, just trying to think of what to do with it. And because it was just so wide open, and they would just forget to do stuff. And the Mayfair one put it in a category of these are aliens that you should only play if you've got your act together. But even then, people had a hard time with it. And I think with the Essence card, you only have 3 effects at any given time. So it narrows it down. It makes you want to play them, so you're just more likely to do it. So the way it works, you have the power to negate once per encounter. You may use this power to play a negation from your cache on another player per the timing. So super simple. An example of one is main player action. This is one of my favorite ones, by the way. So after a main player uses an optional power or uses an ability that requires them to be a main player, cancel that power or the ability. So that's kind of an interesting take. Another one, some of the more common ones, choosing ships. So after ships on a specific planet or a location, planet, tech card, or whatever, are chosen for any reason, the player must choose ships from another valid location, and the number of ships must be different if possible. Enter alliance. When a player would accept an invitation to become an ally, they cannot ally with that side. They may still become an ally with the other side if they were invited. So those sorts of things. It's decisions that players are making. I know which encounter, which attack card will I play or whatnot, which ships will I use, those sorts of things. The Negator can say, nope, take that back and make a different decision if possible. So I like that, and I like this implementation of Negator quite a bit. So that's why it's sort of there halfway up the list. All right, our next one is Schizoid. So this is an alternate timeline Schizoid. Once Essence aliens were introduced, a lot of players remarked that Schizoid, which had its own set of cards, should be an Essence alien, or should have been, or would have been, and now it is. And not only that, but there's been a few changes to how Schizoid works that are a little bit different from the previous version, which itself is different from the original version. So with game setup, you're going to choose one of your conditions, which is what your Essence cards are called, from the whole set. So this is an Essence alien that works differently from the other ones. And then you're going to shuffle the remaining 7 cards as a deck and place them face down near the sheet. So you have the power to shift reality. As a main player, after you lose an encounter or fail to make a deal, the opposing main player draws a card at random from your condition deck, places it face up on this sheet. Now, when any player would win by the normal, that is not an alternate victory condition, but the normal victory conditions, use this power to prevent that win. So your power is that they just don't win when they should have won, because they can only win by whichever method you have selected. And when any player would win by one of your conditions, use his power to declare them the winner instead. So we've got a couple of the ones that I've pulled out here. There used to be one called Invader, but now there's an alien called Invader, so I changed it to Intruder. So if you select this one, somebody wins if they have 3 of their foreign colonies have at least 4 ships on it, then you win the game. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to win by that, but you don't know what this is because it's kind of kept out. You're looking at the other ones to see what's been eliminated. And this was a new one for it. It's called Traditionalist, which is just if you have at least 5 foreign colonies and at least 3 home colonies. So it's a little bit more like the normal way. The home colony thing is not a normal condition, but we wanted to make it slightly different from the normal win. So it's fun that you get to choose which one of these that you want to use as the Schizoid. The implementation here that they publish is not quite what was submitted there. It's a little bit different. I play it the way that it was designed to be played. So again, the idea is that the other players they're only getting to, when they win, they're only getting a look at what you have not chosen. And so that is what I think makes the game a lot more tense and interesting with Schizoid. All right, moving right along, we are now to Anarchist, which is from Cosmic Eons. And this one is wild. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but it's really interesting gameplay. So, Power of Chaos. As a main player, whenever you lose an encounter or fail to make a deal, use his power to disrupt a game rule by revealing one disruption from your Essence cache. At first, you keep the card face up on the sheet, and only you may use the disrupted rule. So that's the first stage, is like, all right, I've come up with this new rule. Give you an example, the gate rule disruption. So all limits on the total number of ships that you can send to the hyperspace gate are ignored, including specific limits such as those of Macron. So yeah, you can say like, oh, I'm bringing 12 ships now as an ally. So that's crazy. But then what happens is once per encounter, you may allow another player to move one of your face-up disruptions from the sheet next to their sheet. Now, both of you may take advantage of that disrupted rule. Afterwards, you immediately reveal another disruption from your cache. So if somebody else wants to do this thing that you alone can do because it's on your sheet, you can say, great, once per encounter you do that. They can do it, but then it means you get to put another one into play. And that's going to become a big deal because after any other player has used a disrupted rule, they place it in the center of the playing area, and then everyone may use it. So if I've been using this as the Anarchist, and then I say somebody else is like, I really want to use your gate rule disruption, you put it by them, but as soon as they use it, then everybody can do it. So they'll get one exclusive use out of it, and then everybody can do it. And disruptions are cumulative, so you'll be adding more and more. And if you have revealed all 8 disruptions, you win the game. So this is also an alternate win alien. And I've seen Anarchist win the game a couple of times by revealing all 8 of their disruptions. And it's a crazy game by the time that happens. I'll give you a couple other examples here. The warp rule disruption, when you should retrieve 1 or more ships from the warp, retrieve them all. And the success rule, you do not need to be successful on your first encounter to have a second one. The rewards, you have a right to see all cards drawn from decks for rewards. You know, it gets to be bananas, but I like that. It really turns Cosmic Encounter, a game that's already on its head, more onto its head. All right, this next one also from Eons is Sheriff. I really like Sheriff. I don't know, I just really enjoy the law enforcement aspect of this alien. So you have the power to ticket once during each player's turn. So it's during a turn, not during an encounter, an important distinction. You may use this power to choose a ticket from your Essence cache and either discard it or give it to any player who is committing the infraction on that ticket and has the cards or ships needed to pay the fine. Now, that player immediately pays the fine. If the fine is in cards, you select them at random from their hand. If it's in ships, that player chooses the ships to lose. And then the player keeps the ticket face up. As the fine is being played, however, you may use this power to seize it as a gratuity. And that means that you add some or all of the cards that they are discarding to your hand rather than discarding them. Or you get to retrieve a number of your ships from the warp up to the number that has been fined. Then the player flips the ticket face down and gains immunity from further tickets while they have a face down card. Now, when all other players have immunity or you have no tickets remaining, you get all the tickets back. So a couple of examples here. And this is similar to how the all of the cards for Nightmare are types of Nightmare. All the cards here are kinds of infractions that the police could ticket you for. So we have loitering. And loitering, the infraction is not accepting an alliance invitation. Well, that happens on occasion. So the fine is they have to discard 1 card. And again, it's at random. So they're not, people are not happy about losing cards at random a lot of the times. So, and then again, you can have them keep this card, or as they're discarding the card, you can go, oh, look at that. I think I'll take that as a gratuity. And then they get the immunity there. Another one is trespassing. So the infraction is you aiming the hyperspace gate at a planet with 1 or fewer ships. And the fine here is they lose a ship to the warp. So some of these are kinder and gentler than others. But it's things that tend to happen fairly frequently. It's hard to play the game in such a way that you are avoiding all of the tickets. Even if you had a handy reference for what all the tickets might be, it sometimes is hard to avoid them. So I have found that Sheriff is an alien that gets to use those tickets quite often in the game, and it's fun keeping everyone on their toes. And I've seen players role play this quite a bit, often doing a terrible Irish accent. So, cliche. All right, our next one from Odyssey is Witch. And Witch is an alien that had been published before, very similar to the way Negator worked, which was a little open-ended in terms of how they could curse players. And people just weren't very good at coming up with original curses, or they were really, really bad at it. And so it works better as an Essence alien. And for a long time, players were like, oh, we're coming up with a deck of curses. This fits into that very well. So let's take a look at the alien, and we'll look at some of these curses. Power to curse as a main player or ally. After you lose an encounter, you may use this. You must use this power to curse one or more opposing players. For each player, you choose a curse from your cache, and you place it face up in front of them. Can't curse a player who is already cursed. During each regroup phase, each cursed player may place one of their ships from their colonies onto the curse card. So similar to a technology, only you're not researching something. It gets worse. After a curse card has a number of ships on it equal to the number on the card, all of those ships are sent to the warp, and the curse is removed. So let's look at it. As you can see, the curses have a number on there that lets you how many ships you have to have on there and will lose to the warp. So it's insult and injury. So this one it's 4 ships, and it's called the Totals Curse. So as a main player, ships on your side subtract from your encounter total instead of adding. So it's kind of like a bad antimatter effect on you. It would not be a very effective curse for antimatter, but usually for everybody else, as long as antimatter or like loser is not in the game, this is a pretty harsh one. You're not really going to attract a lot of allies, or they're not going to want to send very many ships if they do come along, because they're not really helping out at all. This one is the Win Curse. You cannot win the game. Now, unlike the Nightmare where you lose and everyone else that was winning with you wins, this, at least, you know about it. It's there, and with 3 ships, you can get rid of this curse. But that's what I like about this. It uses Essence cards in a new way, and it's potent. You don't want Witch to curse you, so you're like, please join my side. That way, I'm not an opposing player. So that's a nice soft advantage. All right, we're getting down to the top 3, my top 3 Essence aliens. So the first one here, number 3, is from Cosmic Odyssey, and it's Cosmos. So this is sort of the yang to the yin of the Anarchist with the Chaos, because it's messing with the rules. So it's the power of rules here with Cosmos. If you are not the offense, after the offense wins the encounter, you may use this power. Look through your cache, choose a rule, and play it face up next to the sheet. Or instead of playing a rule, you can discard a rule that's in play. So these cards, they go face up next to your sheet, and they are now rules that are in play. And unlike with Anarchists, they are immediately rules that all players may take advantage of. The abilities on the rules are available to all players. After another player uses one of your rules, you may gain 1 reward. So this is it's a much more organized and less chaotic approach to it. Each one of these rule cards corresponds to a different phase of the game, very much like all of the, or many of the, not all of them, but many of the disruptions did. There are 8 of these as well. So this is a start turn rule. And the way this works is at the start of your turn, again, this is for everybody, at the start of your turn, you may draw a card from the deck or discard a card from your hand before determining if you must draw a new hand. So it lets you maybe get rid of, like, all I have is a negotiate card. You could chuck it and say, yeah, I get to draw a new hand. Or you may have like a lot of good non-encounter cards and you're going to be forced to draw a new hand. So you're hoping to draw an encounter card so that you don't have to draw a new hand. So that is a nice new rule to add into the game. and other players will be tempted to take advantage of it. This one is the alliance rule. So the way is, after alliances are formed, if you are not a main player or ally, you may ally with either main player by sending more ships into the encounter without exceeding the ship limit than that player has in the encounter. So this really forces people who maybe don't want allies, they have to send 4 ships. Otherwise, you can just say, great, like Parasite, I'm going to ally with you if I send more ships. So if they only send 1, you can be like, great, I'll just send 2 and I can ally with you. In a game with Lux, this is especially crazy because people want to send fewer ships as the offense so they can get more Lux. But now they've got this new rule in place. And again, when it's Cosmos can say like, all right, that rule's been out long enough. It's time for it to go away. They have that ability, but they've got to wait for the offense to win in order to do so. All right, the next one we have is Oligarch. And this is an alien that a lot of players are not crazy about, but I love this alien. I think it's just so over the top. It's challenging to play as well, not because it's hard to understand, but because everyone's going to hate you and gang up on you. So, game setup, you're going to take your 5 privilege cards as your essence cache. So you're going to have the whole cache. You're not just having 3, you have them all. And you automatically start the game as the first player. So you're going to be the first player, which is it's a nice little privilege. So you have the Power of Greed. Each time you draw a new hand of cards, including at the beginning of the game, you draw 1 additional card. So that's another built-in effect that has nothing to do with any of your essence cards. You accumulate privileges up to the highest number of foreign colonies that has been reached by any player. Use this power whenever any one player has more foreign colonies than the number of your face-up privilege cards. Look through your cache. You can choose 1 privilege, place it face up next to the sheet. If you are zapped, the privilege you attempted to play is removed from the game. So that's the tricky part, is you're always going to have all of the cards available to you, which is only 5. And you're going to be looking at which one you want to play early in the game and which one you want to play later in the game. So I'll give you an example. This one is called Encounter Envy. When you are a main player and reveal an attack card, add 3 to your total. So you're just getting a +3 right there. All other main players who reveal attack cards subtract 2 from their totals. So you got that nice 5-point spread as soon as this goes into play. And if they don't zap it, there's no getting rid of it. I mean, unless you can get rid of all of their, enough of their home colonies, which is not going to be easy. This is another favorite one. It's always a matter of when do I want to put this into play. Am I going to wait until I think nobody has the Cosmic Zap? Because this is the one everybody wants to zap. You need 1 colony fewer than normal to win via the normal method, and all other players need 1 more. That means you win with 4 foreign colonies, and everyone else needs 6 in a typical game. So these are crazy, and they're all like that. They all just the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Kind of an effect. It's all good stuff for you as the Oligarch. So it's great. It's great to play as Oligarch. I love to play as this alien. But yeah, it's brutal for everybody else. Again, you're nobody's favorite. And that brings us to our last one. My favorite essence alien from Cosmic Odyssey is Zilch. Now, Zilch is an alien that was introduced in the Eon days, but it was an alien that had no sheet. It had no sheet. You had no player color. You had no ships. You had no hand of cards. None of it. It was a way to introduce a 7th player to the game. Only really played 6 players back in the day. You could add another player to the game or add a 9th player if you somehow had enough colors to whatever. And the way it worked was you wrote down the name of the player that you thought was going to win. And then throughout the game, you're able to look at anything and you can tell anybody anything you want. And you're trying to help that player to win. And for a while, you're trying to be a little bit covert about it. But, So this is now an alien that has a sheet and is a participant in the game normally, but has the essence cards in order to help facilitate things and capture some of that spirit of the original. So we'll take a look at that. The game setup. What's going to happen is you are going to secretly choose a destiny card that matches a player color without the hazard warning. And you're going to put it face down on this sheet. And that player is your ordained player. So that's who you're trying to get to win, and you're keeping it secret. And the players will eventually be able to figure it out, but it could take a lot of encounters before they can do so. You have the Power of Zilch. Once per encounter, you may use this power to play a fate from your essence card cache. Now, if the ordained player wins the game alone, you win the game with them. If the ordained player would be part of a shared win that does not include you, Zilch, then Zilch wins alone instead. And you can still win by the normal method. So this is a really fun alien to play. I'll give you a couple of examples. So this fate card is called Psych. And as an ally, so this is when Zilch is an ally, after encounter cards are selected, but before they are revealed, you can return your ships from the encounter to your colonies, and then you may force another player, another ally on either side to do the same. So this is a tricky one. Like, when would you do this? And it may be so you're just trying to prevent somebody from getting a colony, or you're trying to help your ordained to get out of a situation that you think they're not going to do well. But that one takes a little more thinking. And one of the other fate cards are much more straightforward. Like this one, it's called Zap. Cancel one use of another alien's power. That power may not be used again during this encounter. This one I like is called Reward. When you would gain rewards, you may choose another player to gain some or all of them instead. Donate. Give a non-encounter card from your hand to another player. This one is very much apropos of the old original version. It's called Peek. Look at one of the following: a player's hand, any face-down cards on an alien sheet, the top 5 cards of a deck, a token, an essence card, or a selected encounter card. Then you may speak privately or publicly with one or more players and basically tell them what you saw or what's going on. So yes, at some point, these will come in very handy when it's time to help that player to win once it's gotten out there. Again, I think you do want to try to be as secretive about it as possible, especially if you can help them get into a joint win that does not include you, then you can just win alone. And that is a cosmic bucket list type of thing. Win alone as the Zilch, but not with the normal method. So there you have it. I've ranked the Essence Aliens. That's my ranking. Let me know what you think of the ranking. If there was one that was lower down that you think is much higher, or one of the ones that I ranked very high that you would rank very low, let me know your reasoning, especially if you have played with all of these aliens. I've played with all of them quite a few times now because, I really like the Essence Alien thing. I've done a situation where we played a game where everyone had an Essence Alien. We also did another one where everyone had an Essence Alien and a different alien. And that starts to get a little bit crazy because you're like, constantly trying to figure out and stay on top of your abilities there, because that's the thing, is these are multifaceted aliens by the nature of the Essence cards. There you have it. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.